Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Charlotte and welcome to the Connection Challenge brought to you by SVC in collaboration with the CFRU radio station. In these unprecedented times, we're all facing unique challenges, but one that's universal to all of us is staying connected with each other and with our communities. My peer team at SVC is taking time to share stories about the different ways the Connection Challenge is affecting members of our community, from our friends to local volunteers to different community organizations and nonprofits, to highlight the resilience and creativity in dealing with these challenges. We hope that through listening, you can appreciate the value of connection and feel inspired to explore different opportunities to connect with others and the communities around you. All right, so let's start off with our guest today. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Lisa. I'm a fifth year student at the university in Bachelor of Commerce, major management. I'm pretty involved on campus. I try to be at least, so hopefully I have some good things to say.
Amazing. Yeah, do you want to elaborate and kind of tell us what you do on campus?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, you know that I'm an events manager on the MSA. So with the MSA, we just try to plan fun events for students on campus, get people connected and, engage in some fun activities with them. And then I'm also a peer helper at the Experiential Learning Hub. So there we just help students with resumes, cover letters, things like that. We do like mock interviews and everything. So that's a really great experience as well. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing this year.
Cool. So why, more specifically, part of the Experiential Learning Hub, why did you choose to volunteer there, and what's your favorite part about that?
Good question. So obviously, initially, I just wanted to get involved somehow on campus and gain some skills that I can use after graduation. So I am interested in going into human resources. So I thought that learning how to do the interview process and resumes and stuff would really help me out with that if I do proceed with that career option. But I also I wanted to get to know people. I wanted to get my foot in the door because I hadn't really gotten that involved prior to joining the Experiential Learning Hub. And my favorite thing about it, I guess I would have to say, I feel like this is really cheesy, but I definitely like the satisfaction of knowing that I've helped someone. Like when someone leaves an interview or a meeting with me for like a resume or whatever, when they leave and they say, thank you so much, like that was so helpful, I feel so much more prepared, it makes me feel so good and like I've actually made a difference. So I feel like that's got to be my favorite, but then also just getting to know people that I otherwise wouldn't get the chance to meet, I guess. But I feel like that's what everyone says with volunteer work.
Nice. That's awesome, especially because you're like using what you've learned and what you know now, especially about business, and applying it to other people. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you start this this year, or when did you start volunteering?
I started with the Experiential Learning Hub last year, but I only joined the MSA through the summer and then actually officially started this year.
Nice. So maybe you can kind of touch on both engagements that you're doing. How have they changed in terms of COVID and all those different things that have come along with it?
Well, with the MSA, I feel like I didn't really get the experience of being in person anyway. So I joined when we were in the middle of COVID. So I don't really know how that went before, but I went to a few of the MSA events before, and the reason why I was so excited to join was like getting to plan these events where you could pick out the food, you could like make all these games to play when you go in, even like drink tokens and stuff. It was so fun. So I guess it's obviously changed so much from that. We weren't able to do that face-to-face like engagement. But with the Experiential Learning Hub, we had to adapt like so quickly last year throughout the second semester. So obviously it was all in person before, and we had like drop-ins so people could just stop by and come in and talk to us. And it was really casual and I feel like really approachable for students to do. But with the COVID changes, I swear I didn't even have like a single appointment after we had to switch all to online, which was really disappointing. And even this semester, it's been way lower than normal because before we'd have students coming in all the time. So huge change. We had to do it all through like Outlook, Microsoft Teams. And it's just, it's a lot more overwhelming because you have to have like all of these different links open. You have to have like your Microsoft Teams, you can talk there. You have to have the email open in case anyone's reaching out to you there, instead of just having the simple like face-to-face, hey, there's a drop in here. There's so many more things you have to be aware of when you're doing it online. So
yeah, I agree. I feel like it would be a lot helpful to have like 5 different computers around and everything have something different.
Yeah, I literally always have like 4 different tabs open. I'm like stressed,
yeah,
like for each one, trying to find what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, it's been weird. I feel like I'm pretty used to it now. I'm now a lot more comfortable like online, like talking virtually than I was in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be so awkward talking to people over the camera, but eventually it comes naturally and you kind of figure it out. So
I was gonna say, how did you kind of build on that skill, or how did you kind of get more comfortable? Just practice, or?
Yeah, I would say definitely just, especially with the MSA, having our meetings all the time. So talking with the events team like every single week on it, I've gotten so comfortable. I can just, it's totally normal. But one interesting thing, actually, this just came to my mind now. But one thing that I've really noticed about like the communication flow, like through video chats, it's so much more awkward because especially on Zoom, I find it like cuts you off. And even if you're trying to like just respond to someone and be like an active listener and say like, oh yeah, for sure, it cuts that person off and then they have to stop talking and then you have to stop talking. It's just so awkward. Like the flow is so much worse. So I've definitely been trying to be more conscious of that because I hate when I cut people off in our meetings. I'm like, oh God,
I know,
so sorry. But yeah, just being more aware of all those little technological issues like that. But yeah, it just comes with experience, I guess, like doing it over and over again, you get more comfortable. But yeah.
fair enough. And then you also kind of touched on the fact that the events pre-COVID in terms of MSA were more fun. Do you find that fun aspect is lost now, or like how, what, can you elaborate on that?
I wouldn't say it's lost, but I would say it's a lot more difficult to make sure that people are having fun and like finding ways to keep people engaged in those events without like, I mean, I was always drawn to the events for literally the food and things like that. Trying to figure out like, how do you get those same reactions out of people when it's all online? But I don't think the fun is lost. It's just trying to adapt and find those ways to make it the same level of fun that it was before without those in-person things.
Right. And how has your team done that so far?
Well, it's been a struggle. I guess the number one thing was when we realized that making set times and dates for virtual events is really, really difficult to make work. So the first event we planned, we only had a couple people come to it, but we put so much work and effort into it. So from there, we realized we got to make it a lot more approachable for students, or else the engagement's just not going to be there. I would say when we realized that, it made a huge difference. So now with our events, we actually have people that are coming and we have a lot more like reactions from students and like a lot more engagement overall.
Amazing.
And then also, I guess, just like after the wine and paint night we ran, I realized that like giving them something to do also helps a lot.
So switching back to the Experiential Learning Hub, what do you think it is that people are kind of drawing away from reaching out to you guys now? Like, what do you think is stopping them?
I guess like what I was kind of saying before, that it's just not as approachable, like and it's just taking away that casual aspect of it, because when you're on campus at the Experiential Learning Hub, you can just walk in and be like, oh, I have an extra half hour, I may as well just drop into the EL Hub and do this and just come in and talk to us, and it's easy. I feel like that was kind of taken away because now you have to make these appointments, and it's a lot harder to get a drop-in appointment too when it has to be through email first. You have to email us, then we have to find a peer to help you, and it makes the whole process a lot more difficult. So I feel like as a student, I would not want to take part in it as much either. I totally get it. So definitely that, but also I feel like even just doing the video chats online, people are a lot more hesitant to do it that way because it is more awkward and you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. So yeah, just both of those things I feel like have made it like a huge impact.
Do you think there's anything off the top of your head, and obviously it is a hard question because we're all trying to figure it out, but do you think there's something you and your team could do to help students feel more comfortable in that sort of situation?
I guess I think that if I were a student, more more directly engaging with them would make a difference. Like it's obviously unrealistic to think that we could email everybody, but actually hearing from someone directly, I feel like it's a huge difference. So when I post, say, on Instagram about the things that we're doing, I always hope that someone's going to message me about it and be like, oh, this sounds fun. Maybe I should do that. And it makes you more comfortable to engage with it rather than just seeing, like, you'd have to like search for those events, like going on Experience Guelph or whatever. I feel like it kind of takes away from that and you feel a little bit more awkward. But yeah, so I guess I've been trying to reach out to people as much as possible to get them to come and stay involved. And I think that's like makes them a bit more comfortable.
For sure. And that's kind of something SVC tries to do too, is create more of that direct conversation and making it comfortable, whether it's before the appointment, after the appointment, through the whole thing. So I definitely agree that that's a very important aspect. So how, it's kind of a bit more of a personal question, but how are you ensuring that you're still getting the most out of your experience given the situation?
Like with my volunteer experience?
Yeah, like it's very, I think it's very easy now to volunteer but not put your full into it because it's there's an element of it that's lost, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. Like at the EL Hub, you don't have nearly as many appointments. So how do you stay as connected as you were before?
Yeah, and continuously wanting to volunteer.
Yeah, I would say like even the very few appointments that I've gotten this semester have reminded me how much I love it. So even those small successes, I feel like make a huge difference. So when I do eventually have like, I had a mock interview last week for the first time this semester, which was really exciting. I'm like, that feels so good to get back into it. So I guess when you're a bit hesitant, just remind yourself why you're doing it. And every time that you do get to take part in it, you realize all over again that it is worth it, even though it's so much different now. And another thing at the EL Hub, so our advisor has also been implementing these smaller projects that we can complete. So our drop-in hours have been very slow, but she's been adding these other things that you can do behind the scenes to still like gain a skill set from it, even though we've lost a bit of that experience. But yeah, so things like that, just both like every single time that I do get to do something, I love it. And then also just adding more things that you can do behind the scenes helps a lot.
Lovely. And then this, I guess, kind of ties into the last question as well, but what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's looking to start volunteering, especially right now?
COVID?
Yeah.
I would say it's worth it no matter what. And if I could go back in time, I would have started volunteering the second that I started university. I have never regretted putting myself out there and going for it, but I have regretted not. And I feel like that's what I remind myself all the time is like, you're going to regret not doing it more than you're ever going to regret trying. You know what I mean? So though it's COVID and we don't even know what the future holds. Like what if COVID gets even worse and you're like, wow, I could have at least had some experience now. So just, I would say get involved as soon as you can, no matter what. Even though sometimes it's scary, especially with COVID and things are changing, but it's the best thing that you can do during university, especially.
I agree, 100%. Awesome. Okay, well, that's all for me. Is there any questions that you have or anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I mean, just like to the listeners.
Yes.
Or
any questions to me, anything you want to.
Yeah, I guess I would just say like good luck with everything. I hope that everyone is still trying to stay engaged as possible because it's easy to feel disconnected, but even the small things like taking part in any of our events, making those appointments even though you're uncomfortable with video chat or whatever, do it because it's always worth it in the end and it's super valuable. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, that concludes this episode of the Connection Challenge. We hope you've learned something new and feel it's inspired to tackle the Connection Challenge in your own way. So don't forget to follow these stories on the SVC Griff Life page or course link page, which you can self-register under the self-registration tab, and stay up to date with us on Instagram at EXP Guelph. See you next time.